The message came without warning. It cut through every human communication channel, civilian, military, even the deep space signals meant for long-range exploration ships. It wasn't a request, it was a command. On every screen, the symbol of the Zaltharian Empire appeared, a golden sun split by black lines, glowing against a blood-red background. Then came the voice, deep, cold, not human. Humans of soul, you are now subjects of the Zaltharian Empire. Kneel, and you will be allowed to live. Refuse, and your worlds will burn. The message was repeated in perfect English, Mandarin, Russian, Hindi, Arabic, and 20 other human languages. The words were spoken slowly, as if addressing children. On Earth, in the United Nations Grand Assembly, the delegates sat in stunned silence. They had known the Zaltharians existed. The galaxy had whispered of them for decades, rulers of 1,000 systems, conquerors of countless species. But until now, humanity had been beneath their notice. That had changed. The weight of fear, President. Elena Cortez of Earth looked around the assembly chamber. Some delegates looked pale. Others were angry. Most were silent. Even she felt a knot in her stomach. The Zaltharians were not like the other alien civilizations humans had met in the last century. Those civilizations had been cautious traders, cautious explorers, careful with humanity, as if respecting a dangerous animal. But the Zaltharians didn't respect. They demanded. A hollow screen flickered beside the president. An intelligence report scrolled past her eyes. The Zaltharian fleet numbered in the thousands. Each ship was larger than the biggest human dreadnought. They carried weapons that could vaporize a city in a heartbeat, and their armies were said to be unstoppable. Kneel or burn. It wasn't a choice. It was a test. Private words in a public meeting. Admiral Jonathan Reeves, head of the Terran Defense Fleet, leaned close to the president and whispered, "If their numbers are accurate, direct confrontation is suicide." Cortez didn't reply immediately. She looked at the delegates, people from Earth, Luna, Mars, the Jovian colonies, and the outer stations. Each of them carried the voice of billions. Billions who now looked to them for an answer. In the gallery above, journalists and holo-recorders waited, ready to transmit humanity's response to every star system. Finally, Cortez stood. Her voice was calm, measured. "We thank the Zaltharian Empire for their generous invitation," she said. The words tasted bitter in her mouth. "Humanity will consider this offer and respond within the next standard cycle." Around the chamber, there were murmurs. Some were confused. Others were relieved. The Zaltharian envoy, a tall, black-armored figure with eyes like molten gold, nodded slowly, as if humoring a pet. "You have one cycle," the alien repeated. Then the transmission cut, behind closed doors, the moment the assembly doors closed. To the public, the atmosphere changed. No cameras, no outsiders, only the leaders of humanity remained. "That was suicide," barked Chancellor Rahman of the Martian Confederacy. "We should have surrendered now, before they destroy half our colonies." "No," said Admiral Reeves sharply. "If we kneel, we lose everything, our autonomy, our future, our pride. We become another trophy in their empire. And if we fight, we lose our lives," Rahman shot back. President Cortez raised her hand. "Enough! This is not the time for panic. We are not kneeling. Not yet." Her words froze the room. Quiet preparations. Begin. While diplomats sent polite delays to the Zaltharians, deep beneath the surface of Mars, in the cavernous shipyard known as Red Dock, ancient blueprints were pulled from classified archives. Massive. Ships began construction, warships not meant for defense, but for planetary annihilation. On an asteroid mining station in the belt, cargo haulers quietly swapped ore for heavy weapon components. No public announcements, no parades. Every move was quiet, hidden, calculated. Human scientists on Titan began working day and night on old planetary glassing technology, energy warheads so destructive they had been banned by human law for over a century. On the surface, humanity looked calm. Beneath that surface, they sharpened their teeth. The misunderstanding to the Zaltharians, humanity's delay looked like fear. Their intelligence reports showed no large military movements, no public mobilization. The humans still broadcast their usual entertainment, sports, music, even comedy shows. In the Empire's War Council, Lord Marshal Drekos laughed. "They are soft. They think hiding will save them. When we strike, they will fall to their knees in hours." The Emperor himself, an enormous being of golden scales and iron-black armor, smiled in approval. "Then we will give them one more. Cycle, no more." Small stories in a big war in the Martian city of New Alexandria, an engineer named Aaron Holt received a coded message from Earth's defense network. He was to abandon his current work and report to a hidden facility beneath the city. The work would be dangerous, possibly lethal. He didn't hesitate. On a Zaltharian-controlled mining world, a human trader named Claire Voss was approached by a shadowy figure. He was a covert operative, asking her to smuggle encrypted data crystals out of the system. She didn't ask what was on them. She just nodded. In the frozen tunnels of Europa, a team of human scientists dismantled a deep space telescope, not for research, but for parts to build a weapon. They worked in silence, only the hum of machines filling the air. These small acts, scattered across the system, were threads in a much larger web. A web the Zaltharians didn't even know existed. The deceptive answer. The Zaltharian envoy returned exactly one cycle later. His voice echoed in the UN chamber. "Have you chosen? Will you kneel?" President Cortez stood, her face unreadable. "Humanity. We'll consider further. We ask for one more cycle to prepare ourselves for this great transition." The envoy's golden eyes glimmered. "Your delay is pointless, but we allow it, for the Emperor enjoys watching his prey squirm." The alien turned and left. As soon as the chamber doors closed, Cortez looked at Admiral Reeves and said quietly, "When they land, let them—" Reeves nodded grimly. "And then?" Her voice was like ice. "Then we burn their worlds to the ground." The official news channels told the galaxy that humans were thinking about the Zaltharian Empire's offer. But the truth was different. From the farthest icy moons to the crowded cities of Earth, humanity was already moving, quietly, invisibly, toward the meeting. Beneath the ocean far below the waves of the Pacific Ocean, in a massive dome built on the seafloor, the Terran Strategic Council met in secret. The dome was shielded from every kind of scan. Electromagnetic, gravitational, even exotic alien sensors. President Elena Cortez stood at the center table. Around her were military commanders, scientists, intelligence chiefs, and a few civilian leaders who had the courage or the ruthlessness to be part of what came next. "Our enemy believes we are afraid," Cortez began. "That mistake will cost them their empire." She turned to Admiral Reeves. "Status of our hidden fleets?" Reeves tapped a control. A hollow map appeared over the table, showing red icons scattered across the Sol system. "Construction is underway on 24. Dreadnoughts in the belt," Reeves reported. 17 carriers on Titan and Ganymede. Multiple destroyer squadrons in deep orbit around Neptune. All under stealth nets. No Zaltharian probes have seen them. The council murmured in approval. But Cortez raised a hand. "Ships are not enough. This war will not be fought on even terms. We must end it before they understand what's happening." The ghost weapons. At a quiet lab beneath the ice of Europa, Dr. Yara Bennett stood beside a device that glowed faintly blue. It was small. No, larger than a human torso, but the readings on her console showed it could unleash more destructive power than any nuclear weapon ever made. It was a planetary glassing warhead, forbidden by human law for over 100 years. The old designs had been buried after the Great Colonial Wars. Only a handful of scientists even knew they had existed. Now humanity was making them again. She keyed in her security code and sent the latest progress report to the Defense Council. She did not include her personal opinion, how much it terrified her to work on something designed to erase entire worlds. She knew why it was necessary. The Martian Assembly on Mars, Chancellor Rahman, stood before his own parliament. The official topic was colony infrastructure funding, but everyone in the chamber knew the truth. The money was going to war. Rahman's voice was steady. We will build shelters beneath the cities. We will stockpile supplies. Our enemies will strike at Mars because we are the largest human colony beyond Earth. We will be ready. In the crowd, not everyone agreed. Some called him reckless. Others whispered that Mars should make its own peace with the Empire. Rahman ignored them. He had already seen the classified data. The Zaltharians had no mercy for the weak. Life in the shadow on the mining station K-77 in the asteroid belt, Aaron Holt welded a new section onto a massive frame. To the untrained eye, it looked like a mining ship, but inside, reinforced bulkheads and hidden compartments would carry long-range missiles and stealth armor plating. The workers joked as they labored. They talked about football scores, about Martian music, about the latest vid series. But under the laughter, everyone knew what they were building. Sometimes Aaron caught himself thinking about the Zaltharian fleet, how their ships looked like black blades cutting through space. He wondered if the dreadnought they were building here would live long enough to fire even one shot. Spies in the Dark Inn, a luxury bar on the Zaltharian-controlled world of Vathos Prime, Claire Voss played the role of a bored human trader. She smiled at alien officers, bought them drinks, and laughed at their arrogant stories. All the while, a tiny recorder hidden in her necklace captured every word. Later that night, in a back alley, she met with a hooded figure. He was another, human, part of the Black Signal, an intelligence network that had existed in secret for decades. She handed him the data crystal, fleet positions, supply lines, command structure, she whispered. They were careless. The man nodded and slipped away into the shadows. Claire didn't watch him go. She returned to the bar, ordered another drink, and pretended she had never left. The calm before the storm weeks passed. To the public eye, nothing changed. The Zaltharians sent another message, demanding an answer. President Cortez replied politely, asking for final discussions before the surrender. The Empire agreed. They enjoyed the idea of their prey squirming a little longer. On Earth, people went to work. Kids played in parks. Musicians performed in busy squares. The news still showed sports games and award shows. But in hidden places, in deep bunkers, in asteroid tunnels, in secret hangars, humanity prepared for the most brutal war in its history. Testing the teeth in. The cold dark beyond Pluto's orbit, the prototype human dreadnought Vanguard powered up its engines. Its hull was coated in stealth polymers, making it nearly invisible to long-range scans. Admiral Reeves watched from the command bridge as the crew ran weapons tests. The Vanguard fired its main gun at a dead moon in the Kuiper Belt. The blast cracked the moon in half. Reeves allowed himself a thin smile. They think we're hiding because we're weak. They have no idea. The Emperor's amusement in the capital of the Zaltharian Empire, the Emperor sat upon his throne of obsidian and gold. His ministers reported the humans' continued hesitation with satisfaction. They will bend, said Lord Marshal Drekos. Their delay is a sign of weakness. The Emperor tilted his head, his golden eyes narrowing. Or it is a trap. The room went still. After a moment he smiled. But if it is, we will crush it all the same. The whispered order back in the Pacific Dome. The Terran Strategic Council gathered one last time before the Empire's final deadline. President Cortez looked at each face in the room. Some were tired, some were grim. All were ready. When they arrive, she said quietly, "Let them land. Let them believe we are broken. Let them think they have won." She paused. Then, "We burn their empire to the ground." No one spoke. The order was understood. The meeting ended. Around the Sol system, hidden fleets waited in the shadows. Warheads slept in their launch cradles, and the humans, still smiling for the cameras, waited for the first move. The Zaltharian Empire did not wait for humanity's final answer. The humans had delayed long enough. The Emperor wanted an example made, one so brutal that no species would ever think of resisting again. The first blow-in, the darkness between. Stars. A fleet of 200 Zaltharian warships glided toward the human colony of Erebus Prime. It was a young world, settled only 50 years ago, its surface covered in green forests and silver oceans. 2 million humans lived there, farmers, engineers, families. The attack began without warning. The first volley came from orbit, spheres of compressed plasma the size of houses. They tore through the atmosphere like meteors, exploding with such heat that the air itself burned. Forests vanished in seconds. Cities became molten craters. Within hours, Erebus Prime was gone. From space, it looked like a dying ember, smoke spiraling into the void. The Zaltharian fleet broadcast the destruction across the galaxy. The message was clear. This is what happens to those who delay. Watching the flames in the Pacific Dome, President Cortez watched the footage with her council. No one spoke. The images needed no words. Admiral Reeves clenched his fists. "They think this will break us." Cortez's voice was steady. "It will not. But we must make sure our people understand. This is war." She gave the order, quietly. Without announcement, human fleets began to vanish from known space, slipping into deep orbits and hidden systems where Zaltharian sensors could not follow. The vanishing across the Sol system, civilian traffic noticed something strange. Entire squadrons of human warships left their stations and were never seen again. Massive freighters disappeared from trade routes. Even orbital stations around Mars went dark. The news channels called it a strategic retreat. The Empire called it cowardice. Lord Marshal Drekos laughed when the reports reached the Zaltharian War Council. "They are scattering like prey animals." But the Emperor's eyes narrowed. "No prey hides without reason. Watch them. Earth, the silent world." 2 weeks later, the main Zaltharian invasion fleet arrived in the Sol system. 3,000 ships, black and gold, bristling with weapons, approached Earth in a perfect wall of metal. From orbit, they scanned the planet. No defense fleets, no armed stations. Even the planetary shields were inactive. "This is pathetic," one Zaltharian captain sneered. "They have abandoned their homeworld." Drekos ordered the landing. He wanted the conquest broadcast live across the Empire to show their victory over the stubborn humans. Walking into the trap, the first dropships descended through Earth's skies, carrying tens of thousands of Zaltharian soldiers. They landed in the ruins of old cities, on empty military bases, and in the heart of major population centers, only to find them deserted. The streets were silent. The buildings stood empty. There were no civilians, no soldiers, not even resistance. "Fighters! What game is this?" a Zaltharian officer growled. Then his comms went dead. The fleet disappears. Up in orbit, the invasion fleet's sensors began to fail. One by one, their long-range scans went dark. Ships tried to re-establish contact with the ground troops, but their signals were jammed. From the far edge of the system, a faint ripple of space-time passed unnoticed by most of the alien fleet. Only their most advanced ships detected it, and, by then, it was too late. The return of the hunters in the blackness beyond Neptune. The human fleets reappeared. Dozens of dreadnoughts, hundreds of destroyers and carriers carrying swarms of fighter craft lit up their engines. The vanguard led the charge, Admiral Reeves standing on its bridge with eyes fixed on the distant glow of Earth. "Engage stealth," he ordered. "We go in quiet." The human armada vanished again from sensors, moving like shadows through the void. On the ground in the ruins of New York City, Zaltharian soldiers searched for signs of life. They found empty bunkers stocked with supplies but abandoned. One soldier noticed a strange humming beneath the street. He called his commander. Before they could investigate, the ground split open. Massive steel doors swung upward, and hidden missile platforms rose from the depths. The launch was instant. Hundreds of warheads streaked upward into the sky, vanishing into the clouds. Moments later, explosions lit the heavens as human orbital defenses, thought to be destroyed, came online and began ripping through the alien ships. Chaos in orbit. From the bridge of the Vanguard, Reeves watched the alien fleet break formation. "Now," he ordered. Human ships decloaked just inside the Zaltharian lines, unleashing a storm of fire. Plasma cannons tore through enemy cruisers. Kinetic railguns punched holes clean through battleships. The aliens were caught between two forces, the hidden planetary defenses below and the human fleet above. Within minutes, the neat wall of Zaltharian ships dissolved into chaos. The message while the battle raged, President Cortez's voice echoed across every channel, both human and alien. "You came to our home. You killed our people. You thought we would kneel. Now you will see what happens when humanity stands." Her message wasn't long. It didn't need to be. Across the galaxy, species watching the broadcast saw the impossible, humans not just resisting, but winning. The turning point on the surface. Zaltharian soldiers fought desperately to hold their positions. But human traps were everywhere. Streets rigged to collapse, skyscrapers hiding missile silos, underground tunnels swarming with armed resistance fighters. The aliens had expected a quick parade of victory. Instead, they found themselves surrounded, cut off from their fleet and hunted. Above, the Vanguard and her sister ships cut through the alien command vessels. The Zaltharian flagship tried to retreat, but human fighters swarmed it like wasps, tearing its engines apart. The Emperor's shock in his palace far away. The Emperor watched the live feeds. He saw his proud fleet burning. He saw his soldiers fleeing through the ruins of Earth's cities. For the first time in his reign, his golden eyes showed something unfamiliar. Not anger, not pride, fear. The Zaltharian invasion of Earth had failed, but humanity was not finished. They had not fought only to defend. They had prepared for something far bigger, and now the trap was closing. On the entire Zaltharian empire, the fleet splits in low, orbit above Earth. Admiral Jonathan Reeves stood on the bridge of the Vanguard. The enemy fleet was in pieces. Most ships were destroyed, the rest were running. "Status of ground forces?" he asked. A communications officer replied, "Pockets of resistance remain, but our forces are clearing them. Enemy commanders are requesting surrender." Reeves shook his head. "No surrenders. Evacuate our people, then burn what's left." Within minutes, massive human transports began lifting resistance fighters and civilians from the surface. Once the last friendly was aboard, the planetary defense batteries turned their guns toward the alien landing zones. The blasts turned entire districts into glassy wastelands. The next orders, President Elena Cortez appeared on the main holoscreen of the Vanguard. Her face was calm, her voice cold. "Admiral Reeves, begin Phase 2. Reeves didn't need her to explain. He already knew what Phase 2 meant. He turned to his officers. "Signal the fleets. We move on the enemy's heart." The human armada broke into 3 massive task forces. One headed for the nearest Zaltharian supply lines. The second targeted their key shipyards. The third, Reeves' own, would strike directly at the Empire's core worlds. The first strike. 3 days later, in the Zathkar system, the first Zaltharian industrial world came under human attack. It was a planet-sized factory covered in black towers and endless landing pads. Billions of alien workers lived in cities built around the massive production lines. The humans did not bother with negotiations. The Vanguard led the strike, unleashing a storm of plasma and kinetic rounds. Human bombers dropped glassing warheads into the planet's industrial districts. From orbit, the surface glowed red as metal structures melted into rivers of molten steel. Factories, shipyards, and supply depots vanished in clouds of fire. The entire planet went silent within hours. The message in ash across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The Zaltharians had destroyed a single human colony. The humans were erasing entire worlds. Alien civilizations who had once feared the Empire now whispered a new name with dread: humanity. The civilian exodus on, the Zaltharian core world of Draxor, panic filled the streets. Civilians scrambled to escape, boarding whatever ships they could find. Many had never believed the humans could reach this deep into the Empire. But the skies above Draxor soon darkened with the arrival of the second human task force. Their ships blocked every jump point. The humans broadcast a single message to the planet: evacuate if you can. This world will not see another sunrise. Hours later, Draxor's surface was fire. Fear spreads through the Empire. In the Emperor's palace, Lord Marshal Drekos slammed his clawed fist into the war table. "We must regroup. We still have fleets." The Emperor cut him off. "No. The humans are not fighting for territory. They are fighting for annihilation. If we gather our forces, they will strike them all at once." "Then what do we do?" Drekos demanded. The Emperor's golden eyes narrowed. "We must survive." The hunter becomes the hunted. The human fleets moved with terrifying precision. They never stayed in one place long enough for the Zaltharians to counterattack. In the Morath system, they destroyed an orbital shipyard in less than an hour and vanished before reinforcements arrived. In the Torlek system, they shattered the Empire's largest fuel refinery and left the wreckage drifting in space. Every strike crippled the Zaltharian war machine further. The once invincible Empire was bleeding, and its people knew it. A choice for the Emperor. Weeks into the campaign, the Emperor received a direct transmission from President Cortez. She appeared on his private screen, her face lit only by the glow of her command room. "You asked us to kneel," she said quietly. "Instead, we will stand over your ashes." The Emperor did not respond immediately. He could feel the walls of his empire closing in, but surrender was unthinkable. He was the Emperor of 1,000 worlds. His pride would be his empire's death. The fall of Zalthor Prime. The final blow came when Reeves's fleet reached Zalthor Prime, the capital world of the Empire. The planet was a jewel of black stone cities and golden spires surrounded by massive defensive platforms. It had never been invaded in the Empire's history. Human warships tore through the defenses like paper. The planetary shields held for only 20 minutes before collapsing under the combined fire of human dreadnoughts. From orbit, the Vanguard launched a wave of glassing warheads. The explosions were so bright they could be seen from the farthest moon. In a matter of hours, the capital of the Zaltharian Empire was nothing but smoking rubble. The Emperor's escape, deep in the chaos, the Emperor fled aboard his personal shuttle. From space, he looked back at the burning ruins of his world. His voice trembled as he spoke to his surviving commanders. The humans will not stop. For the first time in his reign, he understood what it meant to be prey. The skies over the imperial capital burned. The once proud towers of white crystal now glowed red from the heat of human orbital strikes. From space, the planet looked like a torch, its oceans boiling in steam and its continents cracked like dry earth. Fleet Admiral Sarah Vance stood on the bridge of the UNS Valiant. Her eyes were fixed on the holographic map of the battlefield. Around her, dozens of human warships formed a deadly ring around the Imperial homeworld. No ship came in or out without being turned into molten wreckage. Imperial Command just sent. Another transmission, her comms officer said. They are begging for terms. Sarah didn't smile. She didn't even blink. No terms. They gave us none when they came for Earth. Fire on their remaining shipyards. The order was carried, out without hesitation. Human missiles rained down, each one a streak of light followed by a flower of fire. The once unshakable empire had no answer. Their fleets were gone, their armies broken, their pride shattered. The emperor's fallen the imperial palace. Emperor. Veyern stood on a balcony, looking at the smoking horizon. His gold armor reflected the flames below. Every breath tasted of ash. Around him, his advisors argued, shouted, and begged. "They will destroy everything," cried the Minister of War. "They already have," Veyron replied quietly. When the first human soldiers landed in the capital city, they did not march like conquerors. They moved like hunters who had cornered their prey. Black armor, reflective visors, rifles ready. The sound of their boots on marble floors was the only music in the silence. The Emperor tried to keep his head high when Sarah Vance herself entered the throne room. She removed her helmet, revealing her scarred face. "So this is the great Emperor," Sarah said, her voice cold. "The one who demanded humanity kneel." Veyron's hands tightened on the armrests of his throne. "You have won the war. What do you want?" Sarah stepped closer. "I want you to understand. Every human life you took, every city you burned, every planet you enslaved, it all brought us here. You wanted us to kneel. Instead, we stand over your ashes. The choice. The Emperor's Council expected demands for tribute, surrender treaties, or occupation terms. But Sarah had no such plans. "You will sign nothing," she told them. "We are not here to rule you. We are here to make sure you will never threaten us again." The humans had already evacuated the last survivors from the cities, giving them a chance to flee to safe zones. Then, with precision that was almost merciful, they began destroying the Imperial world's infrastructure, power grids, spaceports, factories, and military complexes, until nothing was left but stone, dirt, and silence. The Empire's surviving citizens watched from the mountains as their once mighty civilization fell to dust. The message to the galaxy in. The days that followed, human ships broadcast a single message across the galaxy. To any who think humanity will kneel, we do not bow, we do not break. If you strike us, we will answer, and you will remember that answer for the rest of time. The message carried images of the Empire's burning worlds. It was not just a warning, it was a promise. Many alien rulers who once spoke boldly about the fragile humans now stayed silent. Trade ships gave human space a wide berth. Pirate raids on human colonies stopped overnight, ashes and dawn weeks. Later, Sarah stood in the ruins of the Imperial Palace. The war was over. The humans had left the surviving Imperials to rebuild, without fleets, without armies, without power. As she looked up at the stars, she thought of the billions who had died on both sides. Humanity had not started this war, but they had finished it. And in finishing it, they had changed the balance of the galaxy forever. Captain Lee approached her. "Admiral, Earth is calling us home." Sarah nodded. "Set course." The UNS Valiant rose from the burning world and joined the rest of the fleet. The human armada turned toward the stars, engines burning bright like the embers of the worlds they had left behind. The Empire was gone,